Welcome into Denton's office, your favorite Commanders YouTube show. If this is your first time watching, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can follow me on Twitter at the Denton Day. Back from a short summer hiatus, and by short summer hiatus, I mean I was sitting in for Kevin Sheehan like twice a week. So I was still active and around here on YouTube and in the market, just not doing this face-to-face, sitting in front of the camera with a little microphone here, just talking ball. But now we are back, and we get to talk a little bit of ball. So I've watched the game multiple times. We're doing this on a Tuesday, right? This is Tuesday takeaways. I've watched the game multiple times. I have looked at the PFF score so you didn't have to. I have looked at some other things so you did not have to. And we are going to make assessments now sitting here on a Tuesday that have a little bit less adrenaline in them, that have a little bit less fandom in them, and we're just going to look at some things that took place on Sunday and how is this going to help Washington. How are we going to assess what happened on Sunday moving forward, especially with Thursday coming up. Week one is generally a head fake, and it's going to be really interesting on Thursday to figure out, was week one a head fake for the defense, or is this defense legitimately good? Because the Giants suck. They're not a good football team. They got a bunch of problems, and I love the fact that they have problems. I like watching their fan base cry. I like watching them bitch and moan on Twitter. I like Brian Dable sitting there in front of a microphone being smug as hell and trying to one-up the media, and he's doing a terrible job of it. I like all of those things. So I like it when the Giants are a bad football team. I would prefer it, though, if I was a little bit more confident in the defense after week number one. We call it a head fake. Why? Because this is kind of still like the preseason in a sense. What Washington did was dominate on defense. They won the trenches. New York only scored points because the Washington Commanders defense allowed them to throw penalties. They weren't getting massive chunk plays. They did not have explosives outside of like one Malik Neighbors crazy route on Trey Amos early in the ball game. New York really did not have a lot of success unless it was Russell Wilson with his feet. And if you take the Russell Wilson with his feet out, the run game was basically neutralized, which is kind of cathartic in a sense because it was Tyrone Tracy all the way back whatever week that was towards the end of last year. We had 118 yards in a quarter, and all of us who were like, I don't know if the run defense is like that big of a deal. We're like, nope, that's a big deal. That sucked. This is a nobody that's coming in here and running for 118 yards in a quarter. That's not very good. So it was nice. It was kind of like tying up a loose end, if you will, for them to hold him of all of the guys to basically nothing. It's just that offensive line is so bad. And you get to go up against this Green Bay Packers team coming up that offensively, when it comes to their line play, they're some of the best in the NFL, if not the best in the NFL. So we are going to learn about this defense, is what we saw from Daron Payne, which was kind of like this rebirth of the 2022 version of Daron Payne, where he was the best defensive player. It was contract year Daron Payne. We understand that when he has some money on the line, he's going to play a little bit better. I was really impressed, and he was the most impressive defensive player to me on Sunday. Everyone's been praising Javon Kinlaw. They should be praising Javon Kinlaw. He was also awesome. It's very nice to be able to have multiple guys on the defensive line be awesome during a football game. That has not been a luxury that has been afforded to us as fans very frequently. But I thought Daron Payne really was fantastic. He was active with his hands. He was active on runs. He was active on pass plays. He was in his bag. The perfect version of Daron Payne is kind of what we saw on Sunday, with the caveat being that if your best game is on week one, you're not very good. So I'm expecting that Daron Payne is going to be better as the season progresses. He looks more comfortable. And I mean that from a schematic standpoint in terms of what his role is in this defense, understanding the defense, understanding the job of not just him, but guys that are around him on this defensive line. You got to understand what everybody's responsibility is so you can perfectly execute your responsibility. And he feels a little bit more comfortable in doing that. On top of that, without knowing him personally, he looks a lot more comfortable. And you can take that, whichever way that you want. He's a year older. There's a presence in the locker room that he was kind of tied to the hip at. That's not there anymore. He's not going to get in a fight with John Allen anymore. Right? I think the absence of John Allen, without saying that John Allen made him a bad player, the absence of John Allen, it does feel like has freed Daron Payne up a little bit. It is ironic because everyone has spent this entire offseason saying that Daron Payne could get John Allen this upcoming offseason if he doesn't perform, but I feel like he fits more naturally into what Washington is trying to do defensively, and that was really the showcase. It was him and Javon Kinlaw playing the way that we had hoped Deron Payne and John Allen would play after 2022. That was a very nice breath of fresh air, and I'm sure if you're Adam Peters, it did feel a little validating after everyone spent the entire offseason slamming you for like, hey, why are you signing this guy that didn't work in San Francisco and didn't work in New York? Well, game number one, it's only one, but game number one was a very big day for Javon Kinlaw. Also, big-time props to the secondary. Quan Martin and Will Harris might be the hardest hitting safety combo in the league. These guys love contact. They fly to contact. Will Harris had his best PFF grade of his career on Sunday. He fits into exactly what they are trying to do. I thought letting go of Jeremy Chin was a slight issue. I was wrong. Will Harris is exactly what they want here. Not afraid to tackle, headhunter, but legally, he likes contact, man. He wants to punish you. If you're going to get into the second level of the defense in any capacity, he's going to punish you. If you're trapped behind the backfield, he's going to punish you. Like, that guy is a legitimate punisher. He was really, really fun to watch. And final thing on the defense before we get to the offense. Y'all better put some respect on the name of Marshawn Lattimore. He was not good last year. He was really good on Sunday. And in guarding Malik Neighbors, he was really good. He was targeted 4 times. He had 2 pass breakups. He did allow 1 catch, only for 11 yards, but he had 2 pass breakups on 4 targets. I'll take those numbers. That is like cornerback 1 kind of numbers, and he was doing it against a legitimately good wide receiver. Now, part of that is because that defensive front was so good, and they were constantly in the backfield getting pressure on Russell Wilson, but Marshawn Lattimore had a fantastic Sunday, and if he starts to string these together, all of y'all that in the post-game show were telling Linnell and myself, hey, Marshawn Lattimore's not good, you're drinking the Adam Peters Kool-Aid, y'all better put some respect on his name if he starts stringing these performances together. I'm on the hype train early, but I anticipate that all of you that are not on the hype train by the end of the year will be standing side by side as we hopefully take this season 1 game further than they did in 2024. Offensively, this was not the best game they're going to play all year, and good. If your best game offensively is in week number 1 of the season, your season sucked. Plain and simple. And this season is not going to suck. Plain and simple. There were some miscues. There were some missed opportunities from Jaden. He was not as accurate as we are accustomed to him being, but I also felt like this was his offense. Last year, it was a lot of Cliff Kingsbury's offense. This year, the biggest takeaway for Jaden, at least in week number 1, was that this was his offense. He was running the offense. An example of this is when he is telling Terry, who was not here during a majority of the offseason, to, hey, go line up. Things are a little frantic. Shut up and stand there still as we run this reverse to Deebo Samuel that ultimately is going to go and score. When he was maneuvering guys late in the play clock in the early portion of the second half and they called a timeout, and he looks over at the coaching staff and says, don't call an effing timeout, he's taking control of the offense. And he's not doing it in a way that's tyrannical. Like, it's not like he's getting angry at anybody. It's just, hey, I'm stepping into more of this role as a leader. I'm also stepping into more of this role as a master of what we are trying to do offensively. And for all of the talent that he has, and he is talented as all hell, his football IQ is by far his greatest gift. It's not the athleticism, it's not the throwing ability, both of which are at a top 5 level. His IQ and his desire to master what they are trying to do is by far his biggest strength. And as he continues on that journey, it does not matter who is going to be coaching. It does not matter who they're going to be playing. If he masters the offense, this team is going to be in a very, very good position moving forward. It's only going to get better when Terry gets more comfortable. He didn't look very comfortable. I thought that was pretty clear. He didn't look very comfortable. I think a lot of us predicted that, right? He wasn't here for the entire offseason. We found out late in the offseason that he wasn't around as much in the meetings as I thought he was, based off of some of the comments that Cliff Kingsbury himself made about not getting to work with him a ton in the classroom. I was hoping that even in the hold-in, hold-out situation that Terry was going to be more plugged in offensively when he was not out on the field, and it didn't seem like that was the case. Kind of saw that on Sunday. I don't hold anything against him. Get your money. It's a business. I get it. When he does get to a position, though, where he's back, he's more comfortable, he's back in football shape. If this is the performance we got from the offense when it was basically just Deebo Samuel and friends, what is it going to look like when it's everybody? That should scare you. And that is what makes me the happiest about what we saw on Sunday. That is the one thing where it's not a head fake. The defense might be a head fake. The offense is not a head fake. They just need to get guys on the same page. They need to get Terry on the same page. And then you have a quarterback who is dedicated to the mastery of the offense with a bunch of weapons on the outside. I'm jazzed up for Thursday. I don't love the quick turnaround going up against a really good team who beat the brakes off of the Detroit Lions, but maybe that could be a head fake as well. I'm jazzed up. These are the Tuesday takeaways. What were your biggest takeaways? Let me know down below in the comments section. You can tweet me as well at the Denton Day. I thank you for coming into my office. Now, respectfully, get out.